I rise with the intention of getting in some good trouble. I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. In just 71 days, the President of the United States has inflicted so much harm on Americans' safety.
Okay.
Financial stability, the core foundations of our democracy, and even our aspirations as a people from our highest offices, a sense of common decency.
Now, Elon Musk has been engaging in a different kind of political theater with $1 million giveaway to Wisconsin voters, which will either, I just want to point out that, here in New York, we used to have something called a political machine called Tammany Hall. And one of the things that they stopped was them being able to pay people to vote the way they wanted them to pay. They used to call it quid pro quo.
Yeah, right.
And they stopped all of that. They said they didn't want that because it didn't represent what people wanted. It represented what
the buyer wanted.
The buyer, because you should not be able to buy it. But are any of these effective? We know it's effective because people need money. So I guess if someone's holding out and saying, you have the chance to win $1 million.
I think, of course.
Welcome back to All-Star Buzz. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Now, let's begin.
It's going to be effective for some people, but I love what Cory Booker is doing. I love what Senator Cornyn. In recent years, you've seen these sort of marathon filibusters. That's not exactly what he's doing because there's nothing on the floor right now coming to vote. If there's something on the floor coming to vote, sometimes a senator will get on the floor and just take up tons of time during a marathon to stall the vote, right? That's a filibuster. He's not doing that, but we're in a constitutional crisis, people. We are. I don't care what anyone says. We are. We're there right now. And we need that kind of energy coming from the Democrats. People feel that no one is fighting for them. And when I look at Cory Booker, I feel like Cory Booker is fighting for them. It's fighting for them. And when I look at Cory Booker, I feel like Cory Booker is fighting for them. It makes a lot of sense to me. It looked a lot like when Senator Chris Murphy, spoke for about 14 hours on gun control in 2016, trying to affect some change.
Did it do anything?
in this country. Well, I think we saw for the first time a very small bill pass in terms of gun control. And so I think it starts that momentum, that energy that you need.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to note, so on the Elon Musk, he's paying people to sign a petition, but it's obvious the intention behind it. But we should note, Democrats have actually spent more money on that Wisconsin Supreme Court seat than Republicans have. Elon is the single biggest donor, but Democrats have actually outraised Republicans in that race. Now, I'm a little intrigued by these special elections today because this is going to be the first sign of, is the resistance bigger than just Democrats who lost the election and want to show out and show up to show that they're opposing Donald Trump? Or are there moderates and independents and Republicans who are like, wait, this isn't what I voted for? And where I'm going to be looking is Florida's 6th congressional district. So this was Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor's seat. And this is a seat that Donald Trump won there by 30 points. It is a deep red, ruby red seat. But the Democrat, a public school teacher, 40-year-old guy, outraised the Republican candidate 10-1 in that seat. So Republicans are nervous because if they lose that seat, they could shift the balance of power with some other in the House of Representatives.
It all started with a moment of tension on live television. The View, a show known for its heated debates and polarizing opinions, once again found itself under fire. Sunny Hostin, one of the show's most outspoken panelists, made a comment that triggered backlash not just from viewers at home, but from the live audience itself.
With retirements that happen. My caution, I think it's too steep of a hill to overcome and win somewhere as deep red as this, but I'm curious to see how close the margins are because it will signal, is this more than just Democrats like, we need to put our money somewhere to feel like we're fighting, or is there a tide shift in America?
Well, it's very important to vote, obviously, in these small elections right now because that will take the temperature of the country a little bit more. But I really think the temperature of the country is shifting. It looks like that to me. I think, the fact that they want to bury, so remember that?
Mike Waltz, the seat that's up.
Yeah.
He was on Signalgate.
They were talking about bombing a country, and that's not classified, and people get scared for stuff like that. And that that was a very important thing that happened and woke up some people in this country. Hey, they don't know what they're doing, and they're being very careless. And then, and also this idea, that he wants to run a third term.
Yes.
So, okay, now see, to me, that is just a distraction. He knows he can't do that. It's in the Constitution. It's a distraction from Signalgate. It's a distraction. Right.
This wasn't a misunderstanding or a misquote. This was Sonny, loud and proud, making another broad generalization that left many people stunned. And the reaction was instant. The crowd heckled. The tension rose. And for a moment, the studio no longer felt like a safe space for scripted dialogue, it felt like a courtroom. This isn't the first time The View has walked straight into controversy. But what's different now is the level of public pushback, especially when comments start targeting race, class, or political belief. The audience is no longer just clapping on key, they're responding with emotion, with frustration, and with real-time dissent. Sunny Hostin may have expected applause. What she got instead was outrage. And that moment, it's only the beginning of what's unraveling behind The View's glossy facade.
Distraction to me from the fact that they want to cut Medicare, that they want to cut Medicaid, that they want to cut Social Security. They're going to make it very hard for people who are even in wheelchairs to collect it, to be able to go down to the where the what do you call it? The place where they give you the
Social
check.
Security.
Yeah. What do you call it? The place where they give you the
Social
check.
Security.
Yeah. It's making it very hard. They're making it harder to vote, harder to collect your Social Security.
No
And
telehealth visits.
So he'll throw out what they call these canards, which means, look at this, don't look at this. Yeah. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, because that Signalgate needs to be right up here.
Well, everything that's going on with Elon Musk and spending in that election, and what Alyssa just brought up, as a strategist, you're saying you can tell by the fundraising. I really wish they'd get money out of these elections altogether, because you almost argue, yes, we live in a democracy where we each have a vote when it's not being pushed back on, but you have a vote. But the money in these things that decides election is almost like they're up for sale. That's how you decide who's going to win.
But wasn't that Citizens United that did that?
The point is that you're also asking Congress to get involved and pass some kind of legislation, but that's like regulating themselves. They want the money there. So it is one of the dirtiest parts of our government is this money.
Well, what I really want, what I want more than anything, is I want them to stop fooling around with my right to say what I feel.
That's coming.
I don't like being threatened. I don't like being...
Now let's talk about what really struck a nerve, because the backlash didn't come out of nowhere. For years, The View has positioned itself as a space for thoughtful, progressive conversation. But when real-world issues start stacking uprising crime, soaring prices, a broken immigration system, there's a clear double standard in what gets outrage and what gets ignored. Suddenly, Sunny Hostin and her co-hosts have endless energy for criticizing certain political figures. But where was that same fire when the Biden administration oversaw some of the steepest inflation spikes and crime surges in recent memory? You can't preach about justice, fairness, and democracy while turning a blind eye when your preferred leaders are in power. The audience sees the selective outrage. They see the silence when it's politically convenient, and that's why their reaction hit so hard. It wasn't just about one comment hit, it was about years of frustration boiling over. While Sunny rants about the damage done by political opponents, everyday Americans are asking, where was this passion when my rent doubled? When my neighborhood got less safe? When the border was overwhelmed? The selective outrage doesn't just look hypocritical, it exposes the show's growing disconnect from the people they claim to represent. And the audience is done playing along. But the controversy doesn't end there, it only intensifies when big names like Elon Musk enter the conversation.
I don't like people running up on me. You don't like what I say. This is America. I grew up here. And the one thing I always knew is I had freedom of speech. And every time somebody says, I don't like what they said, so I'm shutting down PBS. I don't like what they do. Those are broad strokes which have nothing to do with reality. Because the fact of the matter is, just because you don't hear me say it doesn't mean I don't feel it. So my big thing is all the things you talked about, but this idea that you can no longer speak your mind as an American is really, really, especially coming from a group that always says, you know what, everyone's shutting us down. No one shut you down.
Terrifying.
Can I say something?
Elon Musk recently made headlines by donating $1 million directly to voters in Wisconsin, an act that should be celebrated, right? Well, not on The View. Instead, the panel, including Sunny Hostin, turned it into yet another reason for outrage, claiming Musk was engaging in political theater or even buying votes. But here's the problem. Just days before, a prominent Democrat, Jasmine Crockett, was accused of taking $16,000 from an elderly retired couple yet. Sunny and her colleagues hardly mentioned it. Think about this clearly. On one hand, you have a billionaire openly giving away money to everyday voters, and he's vilified as manipulative. On the other hand, a politician allegedly taking money from vulnerable retirees barely earns a mention. The bias is impossible to ignore. It's not just hypocrisy, it's blatant manipulation of the narrative to fit a political agenda. Audiences aren't blind. They notice when powerful media figures condemn generosity while excusing or overlooking corruption. This moment perfectly captures how far The View has drifted from reality, revealing a troubling double standard that's fueling distrust. It's not about truth or fairness anymore. It's about who gets to tell the story. And speaking of telling stories, let's dive deeper into Sunny Hostin's selective praise for political leaders. Sunny often champions certain politicians passionately, yet oddly enough, these figures seem to disappear from her narrative as quickly as they arrive. Take Senator Cory Booker, for instance. Sunny showered Booker with glowing compliments, calling him a powerful advocate who was fighting for the people. Yet, how long did that praise last? Just a few segments. Then Booker vanished from Sunny's talking points, replaced swiftly by the next rising star aligned with her views. It wasn't just Booker. Jasmine Crockett faced a similar treatment. Initially praised by Sunny for her bold stances, Crockett quickly fell out of favor after refusing to apologize for controversial comments. Suddenly, the panelists shifted from admiration to criticism, demonstrating the fickle nature of their support. What does this tell us? It reveals that for Sunny and The View, loyalty isn't to individuals or consistent values. It's to whoever best serves their immediate agenda. They shift alliances so rapidly, viewers can barely keep up. This lack of genuine leadership or clear political stance is exactly why their audience is losing patience. It's not about fighting for people or principles anymore, it's about chasing headlines and clout at any cost. And viewers are finally catching on. But it's not only Sunny Hostin whose words have sparked controversy. Whoopi Goldberg recently stepped into the spotlight for reasons of her own. Whoopi made headlines by passionately declaring that her right to free speech was under attack. She spoke out, emotionally claiming she felt threatened and silenced. But here's the twist. Whoopi made these statements from one of the largest platforms on daytime television. She's not a censored voice from the margins. She's front and center every single day, speaking to millions of people freely and openly. Who exactly is threatening Whoopi Goldberg's right to speak? The answer, absolutely nobody. The audience sees the contradiction clearly. She's using her powerful platform to claim victimhood, suggesting imaginary threats to freedom of speech, while simultaneously silencing legitimate criticism aimed at her or her colleagues. This isn't a minor slip-up, it's a calculated tactic. It paints anyone disagreeing with her as oppressive or dangerous. But viewers are smarter than that. They're tired of seeing influential celebrities pretending to be silenced victims, while genuinely suppressed voices remain unheard. This exaggeration and manufactured outrage from Whoopi doesn't strengthen democracy, it weakens trust. People aren't buying this performance anymore, and they're calling it out for what it truly is: manipulation of public sympathy. But let's step back a moment and examine why viewers are feeling increasingly disconnected from The View. It boils down to the consistent, strategic use of fear as a tool, especially by figures like Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg. Time and again, the hosts have positioned their show as the front line of truth, democracy, and morality, while casting opposing voices as villains or threats. But here's the glaring issue. While they were busy sounding alarms about figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they conveniently overlooked major failures under President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. 4 years filled with genuine hardships, economic stress, increased crime, chaos at the border were minimized, dismissed, or simply ignored. Yet, at the first sign of political convenience, the show ignites fear again, often by invoking Trump's name, stoking anxieties about democracy or freedom being in danger. This tactic is no longer subtle, it's overt fear-mongering designed to keep audiences anxious, angry, and glued to the screen. Viewers are waking up. They're exhausted by endless outrage and selective storytelling. They're asking why serious issues that affect real lives are overshadowed by dramatized threats and partisan fear tactics. This isn't responsible journalism or meaningful commentary, it's exploitation of viewers' emotions. And audiences have had enough. And let's zero in further on a key moment that's defining how viewers perceive The View, their handling of political scandals. Recently, a controversy known as Signalgate shook public trust allegations emerged, involving serious discussions among political figures about potential military actions. This wasn't trivial gossip, it was an alarming scenario with national security implications. But instead of deeply investigating or addressing it, The View did something unexpected. They quickly brushed past it, choosing instead to highlight less consequential stories or distractions involving their favorite political targets. Viewers noticed. They saw Sunny, Whoopi, and the panel sidestep uncomfortable truths that might challenge their own biases or political loyalties. They witnessed how easily major concerns were buried beneath sensationalist headlines or carefully timed controversies designed to divert attention. This behavior isn't just about selective reporting, it's about actively shaping the narrative to avoid accountability. By glossing over serious scandals tied to figures they support, The View loses credibility. It sends a clear message that truth only matters when it's convenient, that accountability is optional depending on who's involved. This hypocrisy deeply frustrates viewers, and it's why their trust in mainstream commentary is eroding faster than ever. They see through the smokescreen and they're demanding something more genuine, balanced, and truthful. Now, let's talk about a critical issue at the heart of this controversy money in politics. During recent episodes, The View panelists, including Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg, repeatedly criticized Elon Musk's financial involvement in elections. Musk, openly donating $1 million to voters, was portrayed as undermining democracy or even buying political outcomes. Yet here's the uncomfortable truth. Democratic campaigns themselves regularly pour tens of millions of dollars into races, sometimes vastly outspending Republicans. Why isn't this condemned with equal passion? Viewers clearly see the hypocrisy. The View rails against financial influence when convenient, but never addresses the deeper issue MNE's massive role across the entire political system, not just on one side. Elections are becoming bidding wars, where political positions are virtually up for sale to the highest bidder. Yet, instead of calling for genuine reforms, Sunny and her colleagues choose selective outrage. They criticize Musk's donations while ignoring similar or even larger financial tactics from their preferred political allies. The audience knows money corrupts politics on both sides, but the show's deliberate blindness to this reality is exactly what's driving viewers away. People are tired of selective morality. They want fairness and transparency, not partisan theater. And the double standard on The View couldn't be clearer. But here's the real issue. The audience is finally seeing behind the curtain of The View's polished facade. What began as just another controversial comment from Sunny Hostin exploded into something bigger, a genuine reckoning. People aren't just angry at a single remark. They're fed up with hypocrisy, selective outrage, and manipulation coming from influential voices who claim to represent them. Viewers are noticing that Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, and their co-hosts have consistently used fear, outrage, and victimhood as tools to keep audiences emotionally hooked. Instead of offering truthful and balanced commentary, their repeated double standards condemning political opponents while ignoring their allies' mistakes have finally caught up to them. The View isn't losing viewers because of one misstep. It's losing viewers because people are tired of being lectured by those who don't practice what they preach. They're exhausted by wealthy, privileged celebrities pretending to be victims, ignoring genuine struggles Americans face every day. The backlash Sunny Hostin faced was more than just hecklin'it, was a moment viewers reclaimed their voice, pushing back against media figures who believe they're above accountability, and this shift is only getting stronger. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also, drop your thoughts in the comments. See you on the next one.